picturing you coming down the stairs in a kimono for some reason at this stage. Let's say you go into Woolworths in Karrinyup, the vegetarian sushi not available. I mean, how much of an impact is this going to have?
No, I'm pretty good at that stuff now. Now I just drive to the next Woolworths and make sure they've got it.
Right, so it has a massive impact.
No, I wouldn't actually do that.
You haven't got a lot of lawn, have you?
It's not a lot,
but it was
good
looked
quality.
Yeah, it looked as if you'd maybe put a bit of feed or something on there.
Each season.
Maybe picking one defender.
Reece Williams.
Right, you're a potential future gardening partner.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi guys, and thanks very much indeed for downloading or watching the latest episode of Glory Stories, Perth Glory's official podcast, brought to you as always in association with our proud club partners and great friends Drimtel, Perth Glory and Drimtel, a winning combination. Now you'll be pleased to know that my recent policy of luring VIP guests into the studio with the offer of biscuits has paid dividends once again. A couple of weeks ago, it was Jaffa Cakes that got Brandon O'Neill over the line. And then more recently, basically, as soon as I mentioned Hobnobs, Izzy Dalton could not wait to get into the studio. She couldn't get in quick enough. And just for the record, she did walk off with the entire packet of Hobnobs after the recording. So for this week, I knew with our guests, I wanted to do something a little bit different, to sort of think outside the box or outside the biscuits in, if you prefer. So I've gone for these. I've gone for the McVitie's Digestive Choc Tops. Might not be new, but certainly new to me. Not sampled one of these before. Looking forward to it. I think they're quite small, but definitely looking forward to getting stuck into these. And to be honest, there is literally no one at Perth Glory that I would rather share my first experience of Choc Tops with than Adam Taggart. And that's just as well, because he's here in this studio. Tags, fantastic to see you, mate. Thank you very much. Have you had one of these before?
I have not. So this will be my debut as well.
Well, we'll try and keep the rustling to a minimum. You can take them at the end if you like. You definitely can. Mate, how's things fresh off the training paddock today? How are you feeling?
Always good after a nice hot day of training, so can't complain.
Right, well, this feels familiar because we did do quite an extensive video interview not so long ago, a couple of months ago, the three-parter that is still available on our YouTube channel if you want to check that out on the website as well. We went quite in-depth about your career and lots of other different bits and pieces. Just one of the things that I wanted to explore a little bit more deeply was your kind of approach to the psychology of goal scoring. Because as I remember, you basically told me that when it comes to visualizing goal scoring, you just visualize the ball hitting the net. You don't really give too much thought to where you're going to put it or how you're going to put it. Basically, the sort of the process of goal scoring, you almost strip that back and you just visualize it hitting the net. Is that pretty much how it works?
Yeah, for me. And look, everyone's different. And, I think it's fair to say that everyone would say scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in football games as a team. So, I think there's definitely a lot of different little tricks and arts behind it. And, for me, one of those things is, the visualization of, the ball hitting the back of the net, the sound of it, that nice click sound when it hits the bottom of the net and kind of rolls up, rather than the ball crossing the line of the goal, or even the way that I visualize it, like I was saying to you previously, is always in real life. So as you're striking the ball, rather than looking at a goal from a replay or looking at goals that you see on TV. And as much as I love watching the goals on TV, when it comes to the visualization of it, I always try and stick to making sure that it's coming from my eyes behind the ball and then watching the ball hit the back of the net.
Well, it's quite interesting because I think, as we touched on again previously, you are a bit of a thinker, possibly even a bit of a dweller, if we can maybe go that far. So it is quite interesting that with something like this, that I would imagine it would be quite easy to overthink. You've really stripped it almost back altogether and really simplified your thought process.
Yeah, but then especially, the longer I've gone in my career, I actually try not to think about it too much. But when I do, I just, try and redirect my thinking into that process rather than, getting too bogged down with just thinking and, imagining great goals that you've seen on some highlights show or something like that. So especially before a game, the day of a game, I try not to think about goals at all. I think that's, for me, the worst thing I can do. During the week, the start of the week, training and things like that, I like to think about it a lot. I think it's good, but once you sort of hit that 24-hour period before a game, then I try not to think about it at all.
Well, you're a creature of habit. You talked about game day there. With, let's say, most of our games this year have been Saturday evening games, home games, that is your kind of schedule or your routine on game day, is it always exactly the same? Does it have to be very specifically the same? And can you run us through it? I'm just picturing you coming down the stairs in a kimono for some reason at this stage.
But yes, you're right. I do try and keep it the exact same, especially when it's going well. And I'm definitely someone that likes to, sort of tick off my boxes that I need to do for the day, and especially on game day, I have a nice little order of that. So I usually try and have a little bit of a sleep in, but not too late. I'll always wake up and go for a coffee. Usually I'll have a second coffee. Then I'll either go to the beach or have an ice bath back at home. Then I'll have lunch, which I actually get Woolworths sushi. So I have to stop off at Karrinyup, go into Woolworths, get my vegetarian sushi because I don't like to eat too much protein on game day. An old nutritionist told me that, and I've always stuck to that, and I've felt good doing that. And then I'll usually rest for most of the day, watch the other A-League games on, especially if it's a Saturday. You got maybe 2 games on before our one at least, so that sort of keeps me busy. Then I make myself an acai bowl at home with some nice granola that I like to get from my local grocery store.
This is so specific. This is great.
With another coffee after that. Then I'll have a cold shower, get into my suit and go to the game.
Does the day drag?
Yeah, I hate game day leading up to it. Usually because I've got all of these things that I have to do at the exact same time. I have to go into Karrinyup and, do everything exactly like that. So sometimes it feels like a long day before the game starts.
So let's say you go into Woolworths in Karrinyup, the vegetarian sushi not available. I mean, how much of an impact is this going to have?
No, I'm pretty good at that stuff now. Now I just drive to the next Woolworths and make sure they've got it.
Right, so it has a massive impact.
No, I wouldn't actually do that. I'm joking.
Just in terms of pressure, obviously, it's fantastic that you're captain of your hometown club, reigning Golden Boot holder and all that kind of stuff, but it does bring a certain kind of pressure. From speaking to you previously, it sounds as if almost when you go onto the field, or that pressure almost disappears. Does it? Do you feel sort of more pressure off the field than on?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know if I think about it too much like that, but now that you mentioned it, usually when I go onto the field, I try and, like all of us do, try and get in your prime sort of performance mindset. And everyone's different again. Some people need to get revved up. Some people need to calm down. For me, it's usually somewhere in the middle. And yeah, I think at my age now, I know most of the time how I can get into that, mind frame, and especially sort of the way you kind of build into the day and on match day. And it's probably more so around that you feel a little bit of pressure and things like that. In terms of captaincy, I don't think that makes a difference because at the end of the day, it's just a label. We've all got to be leaders, and we've all got to kind of stand up and, drive standards and things like that. And whether you're captain or not, I think once you hit a certain age, and even some of the younger boys naturally have that, who I've played with throughout my career, that, you need to kind of provide that sort of environment for other people and yourself. And the pressure of scoring goals is always going to be there for any striker, but I think obviously people, expect me to score a lot, and I can guarantee there's no one who expects it more than myself. So that side of it, I get, and I put pressure on myself throughout the week, and that's probably what drives me to always try and be better. But come game day, similar to what I was saying before, I try and take all that pressure away and not think about any of it. I'm best when especially on game day, I'm best when I'm not thinking about anything else, and almost that you don't even think about scoring a goal. You just sort of know that it will come if you've done the things during the week right, which is, again, habits that I've tried to stick to for most of my career.
And does that come with experience, mate? The fact that if you do miss, a sitter in the first couple of minutes, that you can just dismiss that and then knock the next one in as if it's not happened. Because just speaking from my own Sunday league experience, if my first touch on a Sunday was bad, I was probably gone for about the next half hour.
Oh, look, I always do try and focus on small things like that, like make sure my first touch or first action is good. It doesn't have to be something as simple as like just keeping the ball, but it's more a positive action. You do it with energy, you do it with intent. The outcomes are relevant, but it's the energy and intent that you do it with. I think that usually sets me up for the game. But I think as a striker, and anyone who's played as a striker for a long period of time, you have to get comfortable and accept that you are going to miss chances. That's just part of the game, and if you don't, you'll end up dwelling and thinking about them throughout a game, which can affect your next chance. You'll think about it throughout the next week, which might affect your next game. And it's definitely easier said than done, but it's something that I think anyone who wants to be a 9 needs to be comfortable with. And I think the better you can do that, the less of those that you do miss, and it doesn't affect the next opportunity that you have to score a goal. And I've had some great coaches over the years who, it's the same with giving the ball away. If you're a midfielder or something like that, you give the ball away, you got to go and get the ball back. And if you dwell on that one, it might affect your next action. And it's all the same, but probably with a bit more emphasis on it, because everyone wants goals and everyone's so keen to see a goal. And that's why I love it, because there's so much emotion behind it. But as a player, you need to learn how to deal with those things. And at the end of the day, you can miss a chance, but as long as you score the winner, no one cares about the one you missed before, But if you stay dwelling on that and affects the next one, then it makes it even worse and just becomes a knock-on effect. So, it's important to stick to the process and not hold on to things, especially throughout a game, too much. I think it's good to work on things in training that week. If there's something that you're not feeling comfortable with, to get comfortable with, which I think is important. But you can't dwell on those kind of mistakes, whether you give the ball away, you do something that hasn't turned out to be what you wanted it to, and things like that. So it's important to just keep going.
That's very sound advice, which brings me on to a question that I got in touch with Lambo to ask if there was a question that he would like to ask you. And he came back with a serious one, which surprised me, actually. I presumed it would just be some way of having a bit of a pop at you, but it wasn't. And he basically said, if you were to give some advice to an up-and-coming Perth striker, what would that advice be? I presume partly of what you just said would form part of it, maybe?
Yeah. Well, look, I think, especially over the past few years since I've been back, Lambo's well aware that I'm very passionate about the young Perth boys coming through and, getting an opportunity when it's deserved, and that I'll be there in the background to, support and, try and help them along the way. So, it's a good question from Lambo. I also wouldn't expect something like that. But look, it's hard because every individual is different. It depends who it's to. And I'm usually better when I've had a bit of time to get to know someone and understand their motivations, understand what kind of person they are and how they react to certain things, what difficulties it looks like they're having, and things like that. But probably one of the biggest ones would be that to get comfortable with making mistakes, and the longer you go and the more experience you get, the less of those you'll make. But I think these days, especially, there's just there's so much expectation on everyone, all the time, because people are used to seeing highlights and things like that rather than watching a full game. That you kind of miss all of those difficult moments and mistakes that people have made and things like that. I've always appreciated young players who make a mistake and they just go and get the ball straight away and they go again. And Jalen Pearman's one of those people, which was one of the things that I noticed at the start. He could make a mistake, he could pass the ball out of play or shank one into row Z, but he'll go and get the ball again. And I've always loved that it's uncomfortable and every mistake could be costly or it's obviously not great for the team, but I just love the mentality of just going again and regardless of what happens, that they've still got the balls to go and try and do something, and I respect that a lot. It's hard to teach. You kind of have to force it upon yourself to, even when you feel uncomfortable, to go and have another crack. But along those lines would be one of the things that I'd say, and also to master a trade. I think training just with the team isn't enough these days. If you're a striker, you want to master finishing, you want to master whatever kind of striker you're going to be, but there's a few simple things that you can do all the time that you'll get all the time in a game, and if you can do all those things well, it'll hold you in good stead. It's the same for a midfielder, it's the same for a right back, same for a winger. There's all different things that you need to master. So if you're just doing what you're doing in a team's training session, you'll never be a master of anything, so it's important to have a point of difference and be good at something that, one, you're passionate about, and two, that you might already have a little bit of it. So probably those couple of things.
Excellent stuff, mate. You mentioned Jalen Pearman there. Now, before he went away to the Asian Cup, you were forming a very good partnership there with him playing as the 10. As a striker yourself, what would be in your ideal? I mean, you would have played in every formation. You would have played up front with someone. You'd have played up front on your own. You'd have played in a 3. You would have played in all those different formations. What do you think brings the best out of you, would you say?
Yeah, I've always liked playing in a 2 up top.
Have you? What, with a target man or with a what sort of
both,
player?
Yeah.
Right.
I've played with target man and Emil Heskey at Newcastle, which worked well. I've played with someone like Collar last year, who that seemed to work really well. Loved playing up top with Andy Keogh and Castro kind of having that free role on the left. I like playing with Pearman and being a lone striker. I do like all different kinds of things, but if it was purely for goal scoring and winning games, in my eyes, I'd always play 2 up top. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of work and takes a lot of time to get used to each other, because again, on game day, you want it to be flowing and you want it to be natural, and you don't want there to be too much thinking. You want all of that stuff to have been done in pre-season to kind of get those cobwebs out, and so that you're kind of firing throughout the whole year. But I just like it because especially when wingers have the ball, I don't actually want the perfect cross, but I just want someone else in there who you can work off. If someone goes front, then you go near. But I think when you're a lone striker and you end up in the box, you've got like 4 people who can just watch you, and it's easy for them to mark. As soon as you have someone else in there, that's when you can kind of start to have your smarts about you and move in areas that it makes it hard for them to know whether they should go with you or whether it's someone else's issue. And that's kind of how I like to try and score all my goals, by just going into areas, making it hard for defenders to know whether or not they need to go with me, or someone else is going to take me, or whether I'm going back, or whether I'm going to check to the near. And it's just a lot easier when there's someone else in there who also wants to do that and just creates a lot of carnage.
So you love playing up front in a two. One thing you don't love, and we've discussed this before, is warm-ups. I did once describe your warm-up as the most Sunday league warm-up I've ever seen from a professional footballer. You kind of half disputed it, but you didn't really dispute it that much. You're not an enthusiastic warmer-upper, are you? Let's be honest.
Well, again, part of the way I like to feel is that I like to build into a warm-up, and I learnt that off
Slowly.
Andrew Clark, the old Socceroos S&C. He just used to say little things where you build into it. You don't want to peak too early. You want to be peaking kind of towards the mid to the end of the warm-up. Until then, you're getting in that state that I was talking about, and that's one of the ways. Like, I like to start off relaxed and calm, and then by the time you get to the passing, you stepped it up a little bit more, and then you go into the possession, and you're starting to push a little bit harder, and then you go into the finishing, and I want it to be like match pace, and then the last sprint of the warm up, I like to give it a bit, and then I'm ready to go. And I like to stick to that. I like that feeling. I feel like it works for me. And again, everyone's different. You might need someone who needs to push hard really, really early on, or you see some teams, especially in Europe and South America, who are just like so chilled out for the whole 20 minutes that they warm up, before a game. So everyone's different. It's about finding what works for you, isn't it?
It is horses for courses, man. Yeah. And I suppose, full transparency, I would probably only tend to watch the first part of your warm-up, because then I'll kind of lose interest then once you start doing other bits and pieces. But the reason I mentioned it is because I have done some stats research. And it's clearly working, because get this, right? These figures are, I can't vouch for them being 100%, but I've got around about 128 professional goals, right? 128 in total. That's according to Transfer Market, right? 50 of those have come in the first half of games, right? So that is 39%. Now, most goals, as we know, are scored in the second half. So you're pretty much bang on there. 17 of those goals have come in the first 15 minutes, which is around about 13%. So again, bang on there. Yeah. So as you said, it's working for you.
Yeah. Look, I'd always be preferring to score winners in the last 10 seconds of a game, but to get an early goal, it's always a big help to everyone, and can kind of put you in good stead for the rest of the game. It doesn't always work out like that, but it's a good feeling when you get an early goal. Stats-wise,
mate, do you take much notice of them? Would you? I know your dad is across stats, isn't he? Because you said he's like Mr. Football. He knows everything about everything stats-wise. What about yourself? Are you across them?
No, I am. I'm a big stats man. I like things not only in football, but in life outside of football. I like things that work, and I like things that add up at the end of the day, And I think for a striker, obviously, you want your goals and your assists. If you're a winger, you probably want more assists, but still chip in with your goals. Midfielders, you're probably looking at passing completion rate. Defenders, you want clean sheets, and you want, last-ditch challenges and things like that. But I like that a lot. Even when we sign players, I love looking at stats to kind of see what numbers they get, because at the end of the day, all the best players always have great numbers in whatever their expertise is, and that's kind of what I was talking about before, where you got to master something. It's not always going to be goals and assists, depending on what position you're playing, depending on what type of player you are. But I do like stats, and I do care about them.
Well, when you mentioned you need to master your trade a few minutes ago, I actually thought you were going to talk about mastering a trade away from football, just in case football doesn't work out for youngsters that are coming through. But which brings me on to the question, if it wasn't football, what would you be up to?
I usually mix this answer up a little bit, but I do like being in the garden. So whether I'd be a groundskeeper or I like being outside. I like being in the sun. I like being in nice, peaceful environments. So maybe that. I did a little bit of work experience as a sparky when I was younger. hated that. So I don't think I'll be doing that. I've got a lot of respect for him, but I didn't enjoy that day. But yeah, I'd stick to that. Gardener, groundskeeper. I think Reece Williams does a bit of that now.
Does he? Okay, I didn't know that.
And he enjoys it.
Could link up with him when you hang up your boots. So what aspects of gardening is it the nice bits, the planting and stuff like that, or?
Nah, I just like being out in the sun. I like. It's kind of hard to explain, but you know when you get certain feelings in certain things that you do, and it's not just gardening. I just like being outside. You know, I love the sun. I love greenery. I love the, I love some good lawn. I like healthy greenery. You know, like what do you mean?
No, there's a good lawn. There's a lot to be said.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for a good lawn. COVID must have been a nightmare for you, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was in Korea and Japan for that, so I definitely didn't enjoy being locked up in a room. Even at my house, I always sit outside. I'm getting a little front fence now, so I can sit out the front.
Oh, nice.
I just love it. I don't like being indoors. I don't get claustrophobic, but it's just there's something about, I like to, be connected to the outside world. I don't like to be stuck in a room.
Well, your house is immaculate. It is immaculate indoors and outdoors. And, I had an explore when you were doing other bits and pieces. I did have a bit of a nosy round, and it wasn't just the immediate areas. Everywhere was immaculate.
Did you like the lawn?
The lawn. You haven't got a lot of lawn, have you? It's
not a lot. Yeah,
but it was
good.
It looked
quality.
It looked as if you'd maybe put a bit of feed or something on there.
I
It
do
was
that, each season.
It was being taken care of. I think you had a bit of retic maybe going through. It was no, you fair play. Like you had taken care of it. Another thing you mentioned, middle child syndrome, which I didn't pick up on at the time when we spoke before. I think we moved on to something else. What is middle child syndrome, and is it a real thing? And have you suffered from it?
I've definitely suffered from it. I don't anymore though. I think I definitely grew out of it. The older that I got, when I had to grow up a bit quicker, leaving home at quite a young age and living over east and then overseas, pretty much from when I was 16 onwards. But growing up, I was definitely suffering from that. It's kind of hard to explain, but I guess most people who have it, they definitely know.
Right. What, do you feel overlooked or something? What's the kind of, is it attention thing? What's the go?
I wouldn't say that. Out of my brother and sister, I was probably the one who was in a bit more trouble growing up.
Is that right? All right.
I'll leave that for someone else.
So it's almost turned into an episode of the Drew Barrymore show. Going to be cuddling up on a sofa in a minute. Yeah, maybe we'll pop the lid back on that box for now, and then maybe we'll delve a little deeper maybe next time we chat. Just getting back to the football, mate, your relationship with Glory's members and fans. I mean, you really are the sort of classic one of our own, as it were. You literally basically hopped the fence from being a fan at HBF Park to ending up as captain of the club. How much does that relationship with the supporters mean to you?
Oh, it means a lot, and I think clearly that we're all on the same page. We all want the same thing. I understand what the place means. I understand the history, and it's not easy at times because it definitely comes with a different feeling because. Especially being from here, I obviously care a lot more about what's going on and not just the results, but everything. I care about how the members and fans feel. I care about how they're treated. I care about all of the same things that everyone in Perth who loves Perth Glory care about. And I think sometimes when you're playing for a club overseas or somewhere where you don't have that history with or you don't have that connection with, sometimes it can make those instances a little bit easier because there's, a level of there's not a level of disconnect, but you don't have that same kind of personal feeling as what you do when you are from the city and things like that. So, it means a lot to me, and I've been lucky enough here that I've had just so many, amazing people in the members and fans support me for a long time, and it truly does mean a lot. And I know that people can just say that, and people can look at it from the outside and think that it wouldn't matter and things like that, but it seriously does, and it definitely influences me and how I feel throughout the week. Definitely, when we've had a win or when we've had good response from our members and fans, it definitely helps me to relax throughout that week and enjoy that week a lot more. And when we don't, I'm usually feeling as much pain and hurt as what they are. So it definitely comes with a bit of extra feeling, but it's special for me.
We can see that pain in your face after a defeat, and it's not a kind of demonstrative throwing your arms up in the air pain. It's like just a kind of smouldering, I might just kill someone kind of pain.
Yeah.
And we've unfortunately seen, a fair bit of that this season, which hasn't been great. But all right, let's move on to the Dream Car Rental Dream Team. Now, I did tip you off about this, so don't say I didn't. Don't say I just dropped this on you. So basically,
I'm going to drop something on you.
Oh, God, hang on. Right. Well, we basically make this up as we go along. So you can pretty much make the rules, really. You can be in it if you want to, or you don't have to be in it. You can be a coach sub if you like. But essentially, 6-a-side team, ideally of players that you've played with. They don't have to be Glory players. Obviously, I imagine Emil Heskey might be a sniff of getting in. But the floor's yours, mate. We'll start with the goalkeeper if we could.
Well, first of all, I would like to make it all Perth Glory players. I've played it for a long time, played with some excellent players. We're doing it for a Glory podcast.
Let's do it.
It'd be different if I was, my first year here or something like that, but I've been here for a while, so I've got a nice array of players and mix that I think will defeat any side.
It'll be interesting to see which way you go, whether you just go for good lads, whether you go for good play, whether it's specifically 6-a-side. Okay. Let's hear it. Let's go.
I'd go Danny Vukovic as a keeper.
All right, big Vuka.
He is, especially in those 5-a-sides, and it was a reminder when I was back in the Socceroos with him as well, just what standards he drives from behind you, and someone who's just so, what would you call it, so wired in that, in those small-sided games that I think he's got to be number one. I love Rocker, obviously, and
he'll be fuming.
Good mate of mine, but I think Vuka is definitely on another level to any keeper that I've worked with.
Right, so Vuka's in goal. A good solid choice. Quite a few to choose from, actually. We've been blessed with goalkeepers over the years. So, I mean, I presume as a forward, you maybe picking one defender?
That's exactly right.
Just one defender. Who are you going for?
Rhys Williams.
Right, you're a potential future gardening partner.
Yeah, exactly.
Why Rhys?
I'll sign him in here so he signs me on the lawnmower for later on in life. But no, Rhys is. I don't think people got to see the quality that he has, because he is unbelievable. And there's always been a lot of players throughout my career who I've always enjoyed watching in training, where I actually have joy watching them play, and he was one of them. When he came to Glory, even probably after a few injury issues and stuff like that, he just had so much class, and enjoyed playing with him and enjoyed watching him in training. So he's my one and only defender.
Tough to go up against in training?
He's tough because he's just so good on the ball. Do you know what I mean? You can't get the ball off him, and that's what I want in my 5-a-side team. I know we've got to stop goals and things like that, but I want to entertain, and I'd prefer to back my team to score more goals than the other, rather than trying to defend in a 6v6 the whole time. No one wants to watch that.
They don't. And to be fair, Vuka will probably act as a second defender anyway, the way he likes to.
Well, I've got a couple of other ones who can do a bit of both.
Right, let's move into midfield then. I presume, are we going 2 midfielders, then 2 strikers, something like that, is it?
No, I'm going to go, it's 6, yeah?
Yeah.
6-a-side, yeah. So we've got Vuka, Rhys, we've got 4 more. I'm going Jacob Burns in the middle to, again, for a bit of that defensive side. He hates losing that guy, so he makes it very difficult for his team to get beat. An animal in the middle of the park can do both. Will help race out defensively and kind of graft that central area of the field. And then I'm going to have 2 guys, one either side of Burnsy.
All right.
One of them I'm putting Liam Miller. He was unbelievable. And I think obviously Glory fans got to see a good period of him at the club and how good he was, but he was really something special. And I was lucky enough to play with him, lucky enough to room with him a few times. So I'd put him in there. He had some real class, and would love to have him on my team.
I tell you what, this is a side, this. Yeah. So we've got Vooker, Reece Williams, Jacob Burns, Liam Miller so far. So 2 spots left.
Obviously, next one is...
I can probably guess.
Yeah, I'm going to have to put Castor in there. I've tried to balance it a little bit out as well. But on the ball, if you've got him and Liam Miller on either side, probably not even going to touch the ball because they'll still be shooting before it gets to me. But... just to clear an obvious one, I think everyone's going to say Castro if they've played with him. So,
how did you get on with Diego personally? Did you have much to do with him?
Not really, if I'm honest. He's a pretty quiet guy, keeps to himself. Kind of just used to chat to Joel Chianese, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And then
Joel
one day, one day came
as his kind of close mate, and obviously a good guy and that, but I don't think he was that close with many of the boys. Just someone who kept to himself a fair bit, but we all loved playing with him and loved watching him, especially in training. So, yeah.
All right, so Diego's in, and then are you picking yourself, or are you going to?
I'll go up top there. Especially with that team, wouldn't I?
What a team! What a
I'd be
team!
dying if I had to sit on the side and watch someone else play up front.
Then I'm going to ask you, and this is a bit unfair because I didn't mention this before. I'm going to ask for 3 subs, and they're simply on the bench for vibes. These are just these are your vibe subs. They're not necessarily the best players that you've played with, but they're just 3 lads. So that when you're in the minibus going to wherever you're going to play this 6-a-side game, these 3 lads are purely there for mischief and vibes.
Oh, wow. I'm really going to have to think hard now. I'll go with Scott Neville.
Great choice.
I loved the vibe that Nev's had. He's a good mate of mine, and he was always one of those people that got really impressed by stuff. So when you do something like quite good in training, you just kind of keep talking about it. It'd make you feel even better about it. So I think if I had him on the sideline watching that team, I think he'd be so impressed that
he'd lift everyone.
He'd really give us a lot of confidence,
So he's almost as a cheerleader. Nebs is almost there as a cheerleader.
He was always good.
Very funny too.
Nebs, yeah.
Very funny.
I'm going to say one of the boys who's just signed on now. He's great to have on the side of the field. Great player as well. I'm going to go Lockie Wales. He has got some serious vibes, and I think he would lighten the mood up because I'm pretty sure with Burnsy in the team and stuff like that, it'd definitely be getting heated. So just Walesy on the side to lighten it up a little bit.
Just bring the intensity down a notch. No, I think that's fair.
And obviously, I've got to have Stevie McGarry if we're having a bit of banter on the side. So someone just with the banter, I'll get Stevie on the side.
Wow, that is some squad. That is some squad. Is that, as and when you finish up, is that element of things, I suppose, the banter side of it, is that one of the things that you'll miss most?
Yeah, and look, it's always different everywhere you go, and there's always pros and cons of every era, whether it's a year or whether it's a time you're at a club and things like that. But there's definitely been some unbelievable people, and whether they're funny, whether they're decent guys, whether they're a good cheerleader and stuff like that, there's always kind of different elements that you miss. But yeah, I've been so lucky to have met some of my lifelong mates through football who I'm sure I'll still be mates with for plenty of years after that. yeah, I definitely appreciate a bit of the banter, but it's got to be good banter. I don't want poor banter putting me to sleep, you know.
True.
Wells
true.
is good for that at the moment. I'm very happy that he's here.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
That is good to hear. Anyone ever scared you at Glory? Anyone that you were literally a little bit wary of?
Probably Burnsy when I was younger.
Really?
I really liked Burnsy as a captain, but definitely someone I'd prefer to have him on my team than on the other team, which is why I've got him in my team in the
Fair
City
enough.
sides there, because I know what kind of influence that he can have on a football field, and it's very good. But I think when you're younger, you're definitely a bit scared of Burnsy.
I can understand that. I had to play against him in a staff game once. It was horrible. It was horrible. I was in trainers. It was wet. I was in trainers. It was horrible.
Yeah, that's a big mistake.
Yeah, he had boots on, as I found out when he failed me several times. But mate, we're just about running out of time. I do appreciate you coming in and being so candid as well, and having a bit of a psychological chat as we like to dig deep as much as we can. Possibly a part 2 at some point, so we can really explore that middle child syndrome in a safe space, as it were. That's the way we're going to go, I think. And hopefully Nevs will tune in as well and watch this week, because we gave him a bit of a big up there. And he's a big mutual pal of ours. We love a bit of Nev. So hopefully you will have enjoyed that. Thanks again, mate, for coming in. Thanks very much to Jeff and Jack for all their technical work on Glory Stories. We will be back very soon with another episode. So in the meantime, go well and go Glory.